Today on the list, how to learn about wine for free, get an inside look at the L word, and meet the man behind the success of Nintendo.
Doing things differently than the herd is the art of disruption.
Plus, why online mechanic reviews can't always be trusted.
Read the 4 bad, 4 good, and make the best decision for yourself.
But up first, how to turn your passion into a side hustle. It's your life, it's your list, and it starts right now.
Hey guys, I'm Christina Guerrero.
And I'm Jimmy Rhodes. And with inflation high and interest rates continuing to rise, there's a lot of worry that we could fall into another recession.
And if that happens, things get scary, right? Day-to-day comforts we take for granted can get beyond our reach. The good news, though, there are ways to protect yourself.
How to recession-proof your life is our featured story at the top of the list.
We travel to the wealthiest zip code in Arizona, 85253. Paradise Valley, where many pro athletes and celebrities live in multi-million-dollar mansions. And so does Candy Valentino.
I don't have a college degree, I have a high school diploma, I have 2 parents that were teenagers when they had me. My dad's a mechanic, my mom cleaned houses, like there was no book that was given to me.
Right.
So she wrote her own book called Wealth Habits, a top seller on Amazon.
We're talking about possibly the R word coming down the pike. Can we recession-proof our financial existence and even thrive?
Yeah, the answer is yes, unequivocally. You either make more or you spend less.
First, she says to save 20% of your income. And hey, it'll give you peace of mind to have an emergency fund.
And if you're like, oh, Candy, there's no way I can do that, that's an indication that you're spending too much.
She says to go through your budget line by line, find the areas where you're spending too much, and make those cuts.
How much are you actually spending in your entertainment? What is your actual bad debt that you're spending on big screen TVs and boats and cars and all of these things that are going to drain your wealth?
She says the greatest destroyer of your wealth is debt that you're paying interest on. Her next tip, have a State of the Union meeting.
Set up a date with yourself, your spouse, whoever is involved in bringing in money or spending. You want to sit down every single month, 2 hours.
Make it fun. Go to your favorite place, grab a glass of wine.
And take your bank account statements, your credit card statements, and really look at what you're spending money on.
You might be surprised by what you find.
All the studies show that people will spend on average 17% more when they use a debit or credit card because they don't actually have the physical cash in their hands.
And if you can't cut, well, then she says to make more money on the side.
If you have that 40-hour job and you're thinking, look, I'm already wrung out, I'm spent, what are your options?
You can start something on the side to begin bringing in more money that then you can save.
Pinpoint something you really enjoy doing or that you're good at.
What maybe are you already doing in your job or that you've heard from other people say, wow, you're really good at that.
Maybe you can make something and sell it on Etsy.
Do you love pets? Maybe it's pet sitting on the weekends or at night. Do you love kids? Maybe it's childcare. Oftentimes we forget that all of those things are services that we can monetize and that won't make it feel like so much work.
But if there's nothing you're passionate about, use ready-made platforms.
DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, and even if you don't have a car, like there's a lot of ways that you can do things through these apps that are really readily available for you to start making money tomorrow.
This could also help you develop relationships that could lead to something more.
Somebody could be starting something on Instacart or one of these apps and shopping. Maybe they start shopping for the right person. Now it becomes, you know what, I love the way you show up and how you take care of my family. I want you to be full-time for me shopping. I want everyone to know that anyone can build wealth. Like it is there for you, but you got to take the steps.
Making yourself recession-proof is at the top of the list.
Former CEO Reggie FILS-AIME is admired by millions of fans after turning the struggling Nintendo America into one of the world's most valuable companies. Well, now it's time to up your game. He gave Hattie DeJamal tips on how you can be your best.
I'm about kicking ass, I'm about taking names, and we're about making games.
Some call him Reggie, some call him the Regginator. But since the former president of Nintendo America, Reggie FILS-AIME, was introduced at a game conference in 2004, he's won the fandom of both gamers and business people alike.
We needed to stake a claim that we were creating the best content for players and that we would be disrupting the industry with all of our innovations.
His new book, Disrupting the Game, offers advice for business and life. We'll jump in with opportunity and how to truly make the most of it.
You need to have both opportunity and capability in order to move forward.
Reggie says when opportunity arises, you need to make sure it's right for you and be prepared to push yourself.
You need to have the background, the perspective in order to take advantage of that opportunity. If you're a student trying to figure out where you want to go to school, you have to think about how are you going to best apply all of your capabilities.
Taking risks is another way to level up your game.
I believe in informed risk-taking. So you got to do your research. You got to get the background. You need to understand the situation. You have to really be prepared for all of the different things that could go wrong as well as go right.
When he was a senior marketing director with Pizza Hut, he took a huge risk by introducing the Bigfoot Pizza, their value offering.
It became $1 billion business. It was a huge success.
But while it made money, the pizza's quality wasn't up to the main menu items. So he had to pivot.
I was the one who had to advocate for then shutting it down because it was having a detrimental effect on the overall brand.
We'll wrap with disrupting with integrity.
Doing things differently than the herd is the art of disruption. But integrity means that you have to do it the right way, that you need to be able to have respect for the folks that you're working with.
And in 2007, when the Nintendo Wii came calling, Reggie pitched that it should come with a free game, Wii Sports, but Nintendo resisted.
I had this disruptive idea that if we could have all of our players having this common experience, we could achieve stellar results.
It was a home run. You can find Reggie's book online and in stores. We're upping our game in business and life with life lessons from a business icon.
Dealing with car trouble is stressful enough, and if you wind up in the mechanic shop without much car knowledge, you can be at a serious disadvantage. Jackie Denker has tips to make sure the person who's supposed to fix things doesn't break the bank.
Car trouble happens, but we're about to prep you with some tools that will make your next trip to the auto shop stress-free.
Most people don't want to hear this, but the reality is that us as the consumers, we're enabling the bad mechanic to be bad because we're not taking the time to empower ourselves with the fundamentals of basic car ownership.
Shahei Kalukian, owner of Masvo Auto Car Care Center, has you covered with some tips to protect you and your wallet. First, know that being a proactive car owner is key.
Be proactive, not reactive.
Because if you wait for last-minute trouble to make your way to an auto shop,
now you're in the hands of someone you don't know anything about. You have no idea what their business practice is like.
Instead, build a rapport with a go-to shop. Because in a similar way that your primary doctor knows your medical history, your chosen shop will know your car history.
So if the mechanic has good rapport with you and you have that relationship with open dialogue and trust, he knows and you know, hey, remember 2 oil changes ago you told me about my brakes? Well, I'm ready, I saved some money, let's do it.
And in order to find that trustworthy shop, you'll want to know how to decipher online reviews.
Online reviews are nice and they're real, but there's a lot of them that are purchased.
His advice? Read the top 3 or 4 negative reviews and the top 3 or 4 positive reviews, which will help you identify which reviews seem off.
It's because sometimes consumers will give a bad review based on someone looking at them the wrong way, or the receipt was crumpled, or my car had a finger stain. So just read the 4 bad, 4 good, and make the best decision for yourself.
And remember, word of mouth is still most effective.
I want to go someplace from the horse's mouth that says, I used this guy for a whole 2 years. He's solid. Online review is just basically words put into a paragraph and you take it for what it's worth. It's good, but use your own judgment.
Finally, we help you know if you're being charged fairly with some tips to avoid upsells.
Upsells come from, again, not being empowered and being your own first line of defense.
He recommends taking the time to know your owner's manual, which tells you how often you need oil changes, tire rotations, and more. Also important to keep track of receipts after every service.
Put everything in a folder. If you're someplace new or a new mechanic tells you, oh, you need this, all you gotta do is go back to your receipts and reference and say, wait a minute, I did that at 30. I'm only at 35. Why do I need to repeat the 30 all over again in just 5,000 miles? I think you're trying to upsell me.
Don't sweat your next mechanic's shop visit with these helpful tips.
Still to come on the list, why you need vitamin D in your diet.
So if that goes down, then everything else is kind of going down.
Plus, uncork the truth about wine with help from TikTok.
A good wine glass can improve almost any wine.
And
you're my person. I love you. I love you too.
What the L word teaches about relationships.
You're just like, wow, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this on television.
All that and more ahead on the list.
Welcome back. And if you're having trouble sleeping, the first place your mind goes is that you're having too much coffee or you have too much stress, but it could be something else entirely.
Yet the problem may be that your hormones, they're out of whack. And if that's the case, it can affect your health in a number of ways. So let's straighten them out with tips on rebalancing your hormones.
There are chemicals in your body that if they're out of whack, it can impact sleep, hunger, even memory, and they're called hormones.
Hormones are very important. I mean, they kind of run the show in many capacities.
Dr. Robin Wright, NMD with Rejuvena Health and Aesthetics in Scottsdale, Arizona, shares 3 ways to balance your hormones. Let's start with the ABCs of vitamin D.
It actually behaves more like a hormone. So that's important for your immune function. It's also important for mood.
Vitamin D is also a difference maker for things like bone and muscle strength and energy levels.
It seems like it's a domino effect, so if that goes down, then everything else is kind of going down. And you have to remember too, because a lot of people go out in the sun, but they have their sunblock on, or they have their long sun shirts on, or the big hats, which is all well and good, but you're also blocking the ability for your skin to absorb that vitamin D. Tell me what we should do to get that vitamin D. Of course, is getting your levels checked with your provider. So there's actually an app, it's called D-Minder, so you can download that, and then it will plug in your location, and it'll give you a time to say like, hey, you need to be a direct sun exposure for XYZ amount of time.
Next, herbs and supplements.
You go to any health food store, you've got them all. They're a little overwhelming. There's a lot of different herbs that have been used for thousands, hundreds of years that are very potent. I've seen where people are thinking they're doing the right thing, but have actually created more of a hormonal issue. So it is important to get the lab work to kind of figure that out.
Some supplements she prescribes are DIM, SULFORAPHANE, and Vitex, which are made from plants and veggies. Lab work can show estrogen and testosterone levels and cortisol, among other things.
And then if supplementation is needed, then sure, on a short term, you might need to do that for a little bit.
Finally, cut back on alcohol.
Let's talk a little bit about the effects of alcohol on your hormones. What exactly is happening? What happens is you're going to increase glucose, and that will increase inflammation. And when inflammation is increased, that can increase an enzyme called aromatase.
This can twist female androgen and male testosterone into estrogen, which escalates the chance of diseases like cancer.
The inflammatory process could affect the cardiovascular system and also brain function too. And once that's off, then you're going to notice some systemic issues there too.
So cool it with the cocktails.
If you have a glass of wine or have a drink, it's not the end of the world. If you are having trouble with hormones, you might want to at least cut that out until you get that kind of squared away.
Hormonal harmony for better health.
Wine, it tastes good, it's fun at parties, and that's about the extent of my knowledge of wine. Well, Teresa Strasser says if you follow these TikTok sommeliers, you can become a vino virtuoso. Hey, Teresa.
Thank you. With more than 3 million likes combined, these 3 TikTok sommeliers are teaching us how to be expert wine drinkers. Coming in at number 1, Somm Vivant.
Which glass should this wine go into? First of all, glasses actually do matter, and a good wine glass can improve almost any wine.
Amanda McCrossan breaks down the industry and teaches us what not to do with wine.
Holding the glass by the bowl. If a glass has a stem, you always want to use it. Now, the primary reason for this is your hands are going to warm up that wine.
And she gets to the basics.
Difference between these 3 wines? Let's talk about it. To start, let's talk about what they all have in common. Number 1, they're all red grape varieties that produce red wine.
Don't know about you guys, but a glass of red sounds pretty good right about now. At number 2, Legally Wine.
Here's how you can look like you know what you're doing during wine service.
Michelle Chin helps us pair our vino with our favorite foods.
In-N-Out has a smooth and creamy secret sauce, so I would choose a wine that matches that energy, like an oaked cab or a Malbec. Popeye's chicken sandwich I would pair with a Vino Verde because it's slightly fizzy and the acidity is great with the pickles and cuts right through the fat.
She even teaches us the terms to use while drinking it.
If you take a sip of wine and it makes you salivate, the wine is acidic. If it dries out your mouth to the point where it's scraping your tongue, it's tannic.
Very interesting. See, we're already learning something. And last on our list of sommeliers on TikTok is user Equin.
Let's talk about one of my favorite things to drink in the world, champagne.
Eun-hee, a newly certified sommelier, teaches us everything about wine while sharing her favorite recommendations.
I wish I could gatekeep these, but here are 3 wines I literally buy half a case of each time. First one, Danger 380 Volts by Milan Nesterek.
She also loves talking about the history of wine.
Did you know that wine almost ended entirely in the 19th century? Just when things were going great for the wine industry, phylloxera struck globally.
You can learn a lot of interesting facts from her, and if you're just starting out, maybe try some cheap wines.
For example, if I'm going to a picnic outside with my friends, I'm not going to take a super expensive bottle of wine because it's just going to cook under the sun and be bad anyways.
All for a cheap vino, especially when it doesn't taste like a cheap vino. And those were a few sommeliers on TikTok. More to come on the list. Stay with us.
Hey friends, welcome back. Today on the watch list, we are talking about the L word, which in this case could stand for legacy. The first TV series written and directed by predominantly queer women, featuring TV's first ensemble cast of lesbian and bisexual female characters. Well, it's back for a sequel. So we talked to some of the stars of the L Word, Generation Q.
You guys are the best.
The groundbreaking drama, The L Word, wrapped up its 6th season back in 2009, and its sequel series, The L Word Generation Q, has been going strong since 2019.
I missed you. Yeah, I believe I missed you more.
I call it like the lesbian entourage of sorts. The friend dynamic and relationships in Los Angeles. None of us are actors, but everything else is very entourage-like to me, but through a queer lens.
3 of the stars told us about continuing the legacy of the original series, as season 3 is brand new on Showtime.
I think it's going to be really interesting to watch.
First, anyone can relate to what the characters go through.
It feels very universal, a lot of the storylines, especially relationship-wise.
It touches on things that relate to any sort of relationship, queer or not.
You're my person. I love you. I love you too.
Love and sibling dynamics and work and what it means to balance work and your love life.
It really is for all people experiencing anything.
The messy parts of people's lives are always the most relatable.
Next, the importance of on-screen representation.
We are starting a family.
That is biologically impossible.
It kind of just opens up your eyes and you're just like, wow, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this on television.
Whether you're gay or you're straight or you're bisexual, you just go with the flow.
Seasons 2 and now 3, we've added even more to the melting pot. More inclusion, more voices, and now more than ever, I think there's a place for everyone to identify.
I want to have a baby, but I don't want to push you into something that you're not ready for.
Finally, there's a lot to learn from watching.
I think there's a big theme in this show about doing what you think is right versus doing what will make you happy. It's really cool to see these characters work through that problem and find out who they are and how they love and who they love.
So you're in love with me. Just answer the question.
No one story is the same. There can be similarities from one story to the next that can be unifying in a very positive way, but I think you don't have to match somebody else's story. Your story can be completely different, and that doesn't make it any less valuable or special. It's your story, so don't let anybody else's story dictate yours. Give yourself the space and just explore.
Generation Q. Our time here is limited. Reminds me not to waste another second.
Putting the L Word on your watch list. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, Welcome back. It is time for what's last on our list. Now, it's a rite of passage of sorts, right? You hit a certain age, you're feeling a little dumbfounded that you're 50, but hey, 50 is the new 40, right? And then an AARP membership card arrives in the mail. Old, right?
Okay, what was once thought of as the old person's card is now the hottest ticket in town for Gen Z. Check out this article from the Wall Street Journal. The newest card-carrying members of AARP, 20-somethings.
I mean, this is so crazy to me, right? ARP actually stands for the American Association of Retired People. So what gives? One word, inflation. Folks are strapped for cash and are taking discounts anywhere they can get them.
Yeah, discounts on things like restaurants, hotels, car rentals, concert tickets, and a few years ago, I even got my daughter an ARP card for her 18th birthday as a joke, but it's not funny if all her friends have one too.
Yeah, not at all. So your daughter is right in the sweet spot of getting this card, but please explain to me how this is even possible.
Well, think about it. Besides discounts, AARP also advocates for people who are facing age discrimination. Sure. So how weird would it be for ARP to discriminate against someone trying to join their organization based on their own young age?
Yep, says right there on their website, members between the ages of 18 to 50 enjoy all of the benefits of membership.
AARP bringing the younger and older generations together over their shared appreciation of a 10% discount on Moons Over Miami at Denny's.
That's right. And that's what's last on our list. Hey friends, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Tomorrow on the list, the chef who preserves Native American recipes.
My Lakota ancestors had such a deep knowledge and education around the world around them.
And why a breakup isn't always bad.
Staying in an unhealthy, unhappy relationship actually has really serious impacts.
Plus, how to land the job of a lifetime.
1,000 kids applied, and I happened to get a job.
That's tomorrow, here on the list.